Social animals who are seriously ill, desperate, and waiting to die have the opportunity to wander around the world of film and television. Others create dungeons for pleasure, while others simply create dungeons for survival. Wandering through the world of film and television, just to survive. In the early stage, the main focus was on chronological literature, and there were private goods, so be cautious when entering. First world. The human world. Second world. Fanghua. Third world. Mountains and seas. Fourth world. Children of the Qiao family. Fifth world. Swordsmen from Xuanqi town. Sixth world. Old farmers. Seventh world. Ode to Joy 3. Eighth world. Long seasons. Ninth world. Knowledge or not, ongoing, keywords of the novel. Starting from the light film, the movie and television universe has no pop-ups. Downloading the complete TXT series of the movie and television universe starting from the light film, and reading the latest chapters of the movie and television universe starting from the light film. Chapter 1. The World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The World. Jichuan City, Gongla District, Guangzipian. There are a total of 61 books here, which cannot be seen by others. Most of them are from others, including classmates, friends, teachers, and a few by Hao Dongmei. Because our home is a working-class family, it's safer. Everyone gathered and placed it with me. Wang Zhong's eyes were empty, and the sudden change in the environment caught him off guard. The previous second, he was lying on the hospital bed, waiting for the call of death, but the next second, a Showdown-called system suddenly appeared and then spun around, arriving here. Zhou Bingquan has become an old knot in the Zhou family. As the eldest brother, Zhou Bingyi looked at his younger brother sitting beside him, lost in thought. He shook his head helplessly, raised his voice, and solemnly warned, "Take care of it." Well, good. Zhou Bingquan, no, now it should be said that Zhou Bingquan, who had changed the core to Wang Chong in later generations, quickly nodded subconsciously. My suggestion. Zhou Bingyi picked up these precious books again when his younger brother nodded. You'd better read them too. Speaking with some resentment, he pointed to Wang Zhong and said, You read too little. Looking at the entire box of foreign classics in front of him, Wang Zhong was still somewhat shocked and said, The situation came too suddenly and too bizarre. Even though Wang Zhong had already accepted his fate and was about to die, he couldn't adapt for a while. You've been thinking about this coat my dad gave me for a long time, haven't you? Zhou Bingyi picked up a military green plush coat next to the box and looked at Wang Zhong handing it over. Here you are. Oh. Thank you, brother. Wang Zhong mechanically took the coat and was still stunned. A nearly transparent virtual panel appeared in front of Zhou Bingquan. Name. Wang Zhong, Zhou Bingquan, age. 17 body. 9, adult peak around 10, strength. 8, adult peak around 10, speed. 10, adult peak is around 10, God. 16, adult peak around 10, skills. Cooking, LV2, Sonda, LV2, calligraphy, LV2, driving, LV2, architecture, LV2, potential point. 10 skill points. 10 system integral. 100 task world. In the world, system task. Changing the tumultuous lives of Zhou Bingquan and Zheng won the final settlement of task rewards is based on system evaluation. Newcomer gift package. 12. Cubic space, please check it by the host. The system is very rudimentary, with only a personal information and character panel, and some attached text introductions. Apart from that, there is nothing else, such as a system mall. Potential points can be used to increase basic attributes in a 1.1 ratio. As the name suggests, skill points can be used to improve skill levels, but the ratio is not 1.1. From LV1 to LV2, it takes 5 skill points, from LV2 to LV3 it takes 10 skill points, from LV3 to LV4 it takes 30 skill points, and from LV4 to LV5 it takes 100 skill points directly. At present, Wang Zhong's skills can only be improved to LV5 at most. System points can also be used to redeem potential points and skill points. 10 points can be exchanged for 1 potential point and 1 skill point. There is not much content, the introduction is simple and concise. Wang Zhong is also an undergraduate student in the new century. Although he is only a second-rate university, his ability to learn and understand is still good. Especially the 2-cubic space, it really surprised Wang Zhong. The only regret was that it could only store dead objects, but having Wang Zhong was enough. Wang Zhong immersed himself in his own world, digesting the memories left by his original self, while Zhou Bingyi was busy packing up his things. Perhaps the original body was too carefree and heartless. At the age of 17, his memory was not particularly abundant. With the help of the system, Wang Zhong quickly digested it. "Mom called you. I didn't hear you." Zhou Bingyi pushed his younger brother and awakened Wang Zhong from his trance. "Ah. Mom called me." Although Wang Zhong accepted his original memory, he still had some difficulty adapting for a while. "Aunt Xiao is here, talking about you and Zhou Rong going to the mountains and countryside. Hurry up there. Isn't this just the plot from the beginning of the original work?" Wang Zhong let out a sigh and quickly got up and headed towards the outer room. Mom Li Suhua, who has already lost her figure and gained weight, is wearing a thick cotton jacket. In this era, being able to gain weight is enough to show that the life of the Zhou family is quite good. Xiao Auntie sat on the Kong, facing Zhou's mother. Second sister Zhou Rong stood next to Xiao Auntie, wearing a half-new and old plaid cotton jacket. "Say hello." Wang Zhong walked straight to the fireplace, picked up the kettle and pounded the fire with tongs, then put the kettle back. "Rong. Kuener. What do you think?" Li Suhua frowned slightly when she saw her old friend with a lump coming in, and her voice was slightly trembling. "The palms and backs of the hands are all flesh, pity the hearts of parents all over the world." "Auntie, I understand what you mean. I've figured it out, I'll go." As soon as Li Suhua finished speaking, Zhou Rong couldn't wait to make a statement. Li Suhua is reluctant to part with both her daughter and youngest son. Chuanyan's mother suggested letting Wang Zhong go, for a simple reason. Wang Zhong is a boy and 17 years old, while Zhou Rong is a girl who is too attractive and beautiful. In the photo, it's okay. The boys are just looking and thinking about it. No one in the street knows or dares to do that outrageous thing, but if they go to other places where they are unfamiliar with life and place, it's not necessarily the case. At the words of Chuanyan's mother, Zhou Rong immediately became anxious. Zhou Bingyi, who was packing gifts and flipping through books, also stood up and supported Wang Zhong's departure. "Kuener, what do you mean?" Li Suhua looked at Zhou Bingkuan and asked. "Mom. Bingkuan is still young, I'm my sister, let me go." Zhou Rong eagerly answered, but Wang Zhong did not argue with her as usual with Zhou Bingkuan. Li Suhua, who has always loved Zhou Rong the most, couldn't help but say, "Let Kuener speak for herself." "Mom, this is a big deal in our family. We need to wait for Dad to come back before you discuss it with him. I'll listen to Mom and Dad on this matter. If you let me go, I'll go." Wang Zhong replied with a smile. Zhou Rong wanted to say something more, but Chuanyan's mother took the conversation first. "Kuener's words make sense. This is not a small matter. It's better to wait for Kuener's father to come back and discuss before making a decision." "I'm back." The thick voice of Zhou's father came from the door. Chuanyan's mother also stood up and prepared to bid farewell, asking them to discuss carefully. After meeting Zhou Jigang, Chuanyan's mother hurriedly left. Inside, there was a family of 5, with Zhou's father and mother sitting on the Kong and 3 children standing. Zhou Jigang took out the newly developed photo from his pocket, and from Li Suhua to Wang Zhong, each person sent one. He collected one and handed the negative to Li Suhua for safekeeping. The emotions of the whole family were not very high, and Zhou Jigang sighed that this might be their last family photo. Li Suhua exerted a force and complained. Zhou Jigang is not joking or talking nonsense. He and his eldest son are going to build a third-tier university, and the other is going to the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps. They only have one family visit leave every 2 years, and the Corps is under military management. Even if there is a leave, they may not be able to get together. The joy brought by the family photo just now dissipated instantly, and the atmosphere became tense and low. The whole family fell silent. Isn't it necessary for us to walk another one at home? Hey! The whole family of 5 wants to come together again. It's difficult. The emotions of a family of 5 have all become low, and although they have not parted, the feeling of separation has already lingered in everyone's heart. Tears welled up in Li Suhua's mother's eyes, and she looked conflicted as she choked up, saying, "His father, if we leave again, who should we let go?" Zhou Jigang sighed and frowned, his palms and backs covered in flesh. After much thought, his buttocks felt as if they were on fire, and he couldn't sit still. He stood up and let out a few more sighs, just about to speak. Zhou Rong looked at her father expectantly. "Mom and Dad, this matter is not urgent for now." Wang Chong was the first to say, "Now that our whole family is here, I have something that I have been holding in my heart and don't know if I should say it or not. Now that things have reached this point, it's not too late to let my parents know before making a decision." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Is this still the old lump? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Is this still the old lump? Whatever you have, just say it and keep your heart shut. Li Suhua glanced at her youngest son. Although this old lump was usually heartless, it was often beaten by his father. It was the first time she had seen such a serious expression like this. The gaze of the whole family converged on Wang Zhong. Zhou's father frowned and looked displeased. "Do you want to stay in the city? Let your sister go to the countryside." Wang Chong shook his head and said, "I have no objection to anyone staying in the city or going to the countryside. My parents and I have decided, but I must tell them about this today, otherwise I will never feel at ease in my life. Bingkuan, just let me know if you have anything to do." The older brother next to him, Zhou Bingyi, bumped into him. Wang Chong looked at Zhou Rong before saying, "Dad. Mom, do you know that my sister talked to someone? Isn't it Kai Xiaoguang? You have to tell me about this." Li Suhua thought his younger son was saying something. Wang Zhong shook his head and said, "It's not Kai Xiaoguang." "Isn't it Kai Xiaoguang?" Zhou Jigang frowned, looked at Zhou Rong, and gave Wang Zhong a glare. "Don't talk nonsense," he said. "That's right, you can't talk nonsense." Li Suhua glanced at Wang Chong. "I'm not talking nonsense." Wang Zhong said calmly, "That person's name is Fanghua. My sister corresponded with him in the 2nd year of junior high school. The last time my sister went to Yanjing, she went to see Fengcheng. I'm not sure when they got along, but as far as I know, the time is definitely not short, and Kai Xiaoguang also knows about this." "What are you saying?" Zhou Jigang's face suddenly changed, and Zhou Rong's face was also flustered, but Wang Zhong didn't give him a chance to explain. "I have inquired and found out that Feng Huacheng has been sent to rural labor reform in Guizhou province for several years now." Zhou Bingkuan. Before Wang Chong could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Zhou Rong's loud roar. "What nonsense are you talking about? Am I talking nonsense?" Faced with Zhou Rong's questioning, Wang Chong stood up calmly and said calmly, "Am I talking nonsense? You have a clear idea. Do you think pulling in Kai Xiaoguang would be seamless? Zhou Rong, if you want people to know, you have to do it yourself. There is no wall in this world that is not airtight. Also, Aren't you rushing to go up and down to the countryside with the intention of finding that person named Fanghua in Guizhou province to pursue your so-called love? Zhou Rong's words became even more flustered. After all, she was just a 20-year-old girl who had been pampered by her family as the apple of her eye. Although she was clever, her plans were suddenly exposed, and she couldn't hold back. What are you? Which statement I made is not true? Which word slandered you? As soon as Zhou Jigang stood up, he kicked Wang Zhong, who had already been on guard, quickly dodged. Dad, why are you kicking me? If you don't believe me, you can flip through all the letters Fanghua wrote to Zhou Rong and see them with your own eyes. Wang Chongli's straight and vigorous way. Do you still have reason? Zhou Jigang was extremely angry. Wang Chong choked and said, why didn't I pay attention? I'm doing it for my sister's good. I'm not letting her jump into the fire pit, so she won't regret it in the future. Isn't that right? Zhou Jigang was taken aback by Wang Zhong's words, and Li Suhua was also taken aback. Wang Zhong's words not only made it impossible for the two of them to pick out any mistakes, but also required praise. Even Zhou Bingyi couldn't believe it and looked at his brother, who had always been unreliable in their eyes. Is this still the little brother who is always out of tune and beaten up by his father? I don't regret it. To be a person, one must have faith. My faith is love. I pursue faith, pursue love. What's wrong with it? Zhou Rong shouted at the top of her lungs, even more confidently. Since it had already been exposed, she decided not to hide it. Hee. Such a person would be a good match. Do you dare to say you won't regret it in the future? You can't handle it yourself, don't make others think the same way as you. Wang Zhong ignored Zhou Rong and turned to his father and mother in a loud voice, saying, anyway, I've said everything I need to say. How to make a decision is up to you, parents, to do it yourself. After speaking, Wang Zhong walked out of the inner room with a look of hatred towards the iron that had not become steel. What are you doing in this cold weather? Li Suhua thought of her younger son. Wang Zhong put on his coat and hat, took the bicycle key that Zhou Jigang had just put down, and rushed into the inner room, saying, I'll go out for a walk, so my dad won't vent his anger on me again later. Unlocking, pushing the bike and going out. Li Suhua sighed and did not call Wang Chong back. She looked at Zhou Rong with complicated eyes. Zhou Jigang clenched his palm and suppressed his fluctuating emotions and anger, looking at Zhou Rong. Is what Bingkuan said true? It's unjust to transform into him, he's a great poet. Yes. Shut up. Zhou Jigang raised his hand and looked at the obedient girl in front of him, who had been obedient since childhood, but could not continue to fight. He turned around and slammed hard on the Kong table, startling Li Suhua. So, what Bingkuan said is true. His voice trembled as he turned his back to Zhou Rong. Zhou Jigang felt as if he had eaten a fly and his chest was blocked. If it weren't for receiving the memory of Zhou Bingkuan, Wang Chongzhen wouldn't have been too lazy to say what he said just now. What is the connection between Zhou Rong's life and his life, and Wang Chongzhen? Acceptable memories are still mixed with emotions, for parents, for siblings. Although Zhou Rong is intelligent, clever, and has good academic performance, his character is different from others. In the original plot, for the sake of her so-called faith and love, she is willing to sacrifice everything and sever ties with her parents who gave birth to her. Later, for the sake of their own quality of life, they abandoned their daughter to Zhou Bingkuan and Zheng Wan. Whether as a daughter, sister, or mother, there is nothing that Zhou Rong is qualified for. Wang Zhong has no regard for such a person. Father Zhou Jigang is strict and biased, while mother Li Suhua, although illiterate, is kind and loves her son. As for big brother Zhou Bingyi, let's not say it. It's still snowing outside, and there aren't many people on the street. The Zhou family is on the street, leaning against the public restroom, with 2 large rooms and a courtyard of more than 10 square meters in front. It's also the only one with a photo. Wang Zhongke is still thinking about system tasks. With the tumultuous lives of Zhou Bingquan and Zheng Wan, Zhou Bingquan will definitely be indispensable for Zheng Wan. The virtuous Zheng Wan is the most suitable daughter-in-law in the eyes of most men, at least Wang Zhong is no exception. Moreover, besides being virtuous, Zheng Wan also has an appearance no less than that of Zhou Rong. Just now, Zhou Rong and Wang Zhong had already seen her. She looked really handsome, but what would Zheng Wan look like, who was no less than Zhou Rong? Before I could see it, Wang Zhong was already looking forward to it. I couldn't help but imagine the big white legs of the two when they first met in the original plot. And now it's only 6 or 9 years. According to Zhou Bingquan's memory, it hasn't been long since Fa Xiaotu Jiqiang was arrested in the detention center. I heard that Mr. Tu is trying to save someone. Even if the two get to know each other in advance, it's definitely not done yet. In the original work, it seems that Zheng Wan and Zheng's mother, together with their blind brother Guangming, set up a stall at the gate of the cinema to sell popsicles and bingtangulu. I just came over and it takes time to adapt. Wang Zhong plans to go to the cinema first to try his luck and see if he can meet Zheng Wan. If you want to have other people's ideas, you must first get to know them. Even if Zheng Wan is not here, it is still possible for her future mother-in-law to become familiar with her. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Picked up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Picked up. Bingquan, why are you going? Wang Chong had just left when he met Xiao Chunyan on the way. I just don't know if it was a real encounter or if I deliberately blocked Wang Zhong here. Xiao Chunyan is a beautiful woman with a floral cotton padded jacket and 2 fried dough twists braids. I didn't do anything, just strolling around. Xiao Chunyan grabbed 2 braids, curled her hair with her fingers, and said with a smiling face, I happen to be fine too. Let's go with you. In broad daylight, it's inconvenient for me to be a lone man and a widow. This girl has a decent temperament now, outgoing, enthusiastic, and generous. She is also kind-hearted. What's so inconvenient? He grabbed Wang Zhong's bicycle and prepared to sit in the back seat, familiar with the way. Wang Chong grabbed her and said, it's really inconvenient. I haven't talked to anyone yet, so I have to take you with me. I'm not sure how they misunderstood me. Wang Zhong came straight to the point. Anyway, his task was Zheng Wan, and he had nothing to do with Xiao Chunyan. Wang Zhong was not arrogant enough to make many women willingly follow him, regardless of their status. If there was a misunderstanding, then there was a misunderstanding. Coincidentally, I don't have a partner either. To be honest, with Xiao Chunyan's face, she threw herself several blocks away. If it were in the past life, there would have been such a girl rushing to get involved, and Wang Zhong would definitely have followed suit. However, at this time, it is not advisable to engage in promiscuous relationships between men and women. Wang Zhong is not so bold. Oh. Aunt Xiao, why are you here? Wang Zhong suddenly looked behind Xiao Chunyan in surprise. Unconsciously, Xiao Chunyan let go and turned around to see a vast expanse of white. She didn't even see her mother's shadow. Before she could react, Wang Zhong had already rushed out with a swoosh. Ya! Angry, Xiao Chunyan stomped her feet and pointed at Wang Zhong, shouting, Zhou Bingquan, you wait for me. A posture of never giving up until I get you. Perhaps as high as 16 points, the benefits brought by the basic attribute of God that surpasses most ordinary people. Wang Zhong only felt that his mind was clear, and even integrating Zhou Bingquan's consciousness was easy. Even his thinking seemed to be much more flexible than before. Some vague memories from the past have also emerged one after another. After calling up the virtual panel and considering it for a long time, Wang Zhong made a decision. I don't know which skill to click yet, so I'll put it aside for now. 10 attribute points, 4 points are on the God, 3 points are on the speed, and the remaining 3 points are directly on the body. Wang Zhong's attribute panel has also undergone changes. Name: Wang Zhong, Zhou Bingkuan, age 17 body, 12 force, 8 speed, 13 God, 20 skills. Cooking, LV2, Sonda, LV2, Calligraphy, LV2, Driving, LV2, Architecture, LV2, English, LV1, Potential point. 0 skill points. 10 system integral. 100 The peak value of basic attributes for ordinary adults is 10. Of course, there are exceptions to certain innate talents, such as special forces, war kings, or those who have been struggling with their bodies since childhood. The time on the road has just passed. Just after the new year, there are quite a few people around the cinema, mostly young people in their 15th, 16th, and 20 years old, and there are also many who take care of their children. Not far from the entrance of the cinema, there were many people gathered, both men and women dressed in thick clothes, including hats, scarves, coats, and gloves. Zhou Bingkuan parked the car and leaned in. Amidst the crowd, there was no expected Zheng Wan, only an old lady wearing a tattered cotton jacket, a headscarf, and gloves. Her body was hunched, and her face was covered in the grooves left by time. She looked like an elderly person in her 60s or 70s. The movie was about to start, and there were fewer people around. Wang Zhong walked over, took out his pocket, and pulled out a huge sum of 50.3 cents. "Aunt, how do you sell tomatoes on sticks?" Zheng's mother looked up and saw a young man with a smile on her face. 2 cents per string. How many strings do you want, young man? Let's start with 2 strings. Wang Zhong took out 1 cent and handed it over. Zheng's mother had a bright smile on her face and said, "All right." She received 4 cents again. "Take down 2 strings of tomatoes on sticks and give them to Wang Chong, and give him the change." Wang Chong bit one, and tomatoes on sticks was wrapped in a layer of sugar coating. It was sour and sweet, and the taste was very good. Wang Zhong chewed while giving a thumbs up. There's nothing to say about Bingtenghulu. A string of 6 or so suddenly entered Wang Zhong's stomach, and he took out a penny and handed it over. "Give me 5 more strings, take them back and give them to my parents to try." Looking at the money handed over by Wang Zhong, Zheng's mother was stunned for a moment and then smiled even happier. Okay. Young man, wait a minute." Zheng's mother's movements were very agile. It's a pity not to be able to see Zheng Wan, but it's also good to be able to see Zheng's mother. At least let's get familiar with her first. Mother Zheng also kindly sent Wang Chong half a newspaper to wrap tomatoes on sticks. Taking tomatoes on sticks, Wang Chong pushed on his bike and wandered outside before returning home. The Guanzipian is located on the outermost outskirts of Jichuan City, which is not an exaggeration. Following the memory left by Zhou Bingkuan, Wang Zhong briefly strolled through several main streets of Jichuan City. Wang Zhong is from the south and has traveled to the north several times, but he has never experienced the winter in the north, especially in the northeast where the cold weather can freeze people to death. Fortunately, it's just a matter of soul-piercing. If it were to be worn, it would probably mean that Wang Zhong had not yet started experiencing life and would have to be frozen to death. Toward evening, Wang Chong rode home and stopped by the cinema to see it. Unfortunately, Mother Zheng had already left. It seems that the cinema was crowded and the business was good, so Bingtenghulu were sold out. Wang Zhong didn't hesitate either. The time was still long, and he wasn't in a hurry at all. The most important thing at the moment was to take care of the Zhou family's own mess. Bingkuan has returned. "Hey! Grandpa, have you eaten yet? Auntie, have you eaten yet?" The neighbors along the way were very friendly, and Wang Zhong's mouth was also sweet. With most of the time, he had already begun to adapt. The bicycle was placed in the courtyard, locked, and when I entered the door, a warm feeling rushed towards me. Mom, I'm back. Li Suhua was busy at the stove when she heard the sound and stood up straight. She walked up straight and said, "You child, where did you die? You haven't seen anyone all day." Wang Chong grinned, took off his army coat, hat and gloves, took the tomatoes on sticks wrapped in newspapers in his hands, and gathered in front of Li Suhua. "Look, what have I brought you?" Li Suhua felt wrong at first. When he opened it, he saw 5 strings of tomatoes on sticks. He immediately lost his temper and said, "You are a black sheep. Why waste this money?" He even slapped Wang Chong in a show. Wang Zhong chuckled and said, "Didn't we just bump into this? It's perfect for you and Dad to taste it too." Although blaming her son for wasting money, Li Suhua couldn't hide the smile on her face, and the old man knew to show filial piety. Put away the bingtanghulu, and Li Suhua went to Wang Chong's ear to remind him in a low voice, "Don't let your father see it. He is angry now. Be careful to hit you again. Why beat me up?" Wang Zhong looked innocent and said, "It's not me who's making him angry." Li Suhua glared at Wang Chong and said, "It's not even you." He sighed as he watched his expression darken. "Mom, my dad is unreasonable, you can't learn from him." Li Suhua's eyes turned white. "Where's my brother? I'm trying to persuade your sister in the inner room." "Okay, I won't get in my dad's way either, so he won't see me upset and angry. I'll go see Zhou Rong." "That's your sister." Wang Chong gave a smiling face and quickly ran towards the inner room. The door was unlocked and opened with just a push. Zhou Bingyi sat by the Kong, while Zhou Rong lay on the Kong, his head resting on the pillow. Ouch ouch. They were all born to the same mother, and the treatment is really different. Sometimes I really doubt if I found it. If it were me, I guess it might be difficult to get out of bed this time. Wang Zhong looked at Zhou Rong with a strange and sinister expression, saying that if this matter were left to the original body and not beaten to half-death, then it wouldn't be Zhou Jigang. Upon hearing Wang Zhong's voice, Zhou Rong, who had just been lying on her stomach, stood up with a jerk. A face full of anger. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Mismatch of 8 characters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Mismatch of 8 characters, you still have face. It's all you. Secretly accuse and betray the revolution. If it weren't for you, Dad wouldn't have known. Zhou Rong became angry and pointed at Wang Zhong, scolding him with a hint of cultural reserved demeanor, without using dirty words. Wang Zhong walked over to the table without hesitation, picked up a water bottle, poured half a vat of hot water, picked up the teapot, and sat on the chair with a golden knife. He shook his head and blew on the teapot, and only took a sip when it cooled slightly. With his calm and unhurried attitude, Zhou Rong became even more annoyed. Revolution. Cut. Do you deserve to call it a revolution even if you mess up like this? Wang Zhong looked disdainful. Also, to be clear, I didn't secretly file a complaint. I told my parents openly in front of you. Looking at Wang Chong, who was righteous and resolute, Zhou Rong's anger didn't beat at all. You still have reason, if it weren't for you, I. Zhou Rong's knife-like gaze scraped back and forth on Wang Zhong's body. What are you? Wang Chongxi was not afraid. You're already an adult in your 20s, and you dream like a little girl all day. Your mind is filled with unrealistic fantasies. I really don't know where you've been reading all these years. Still speaking, Zhou Bingyi couldn't sit still on the side. All right. Do you still think the matter is not big enough? This is your sister. Zhou Bingyi, the elder brother, still has a certain degree of authority in front of his siblings, especially he agrees with Zhou Rong's idea of pursuing love at all costs. Big brother. Zhou Rong had tears in her eyes, but her expression was unusually firm. Look at you like this, do you really want to go to Guizhou province to find that Fanghua? Are you willing to leave your parents and brothers behind and our family for this? Wang Zhong asked calmly while drinking water. Zhou Rong clenched her fist and gritted her silver teeth with a determined expression. So what? Wang Zhong glanced disappointed at Zhou Rong, his eyes full of contempt. What kind of gaze are you giving? Zhou Rong was like an offended lioness, and her fur exploded instantly. Wang Zhong said indifferently, Fanghua is still undergoing labor reform. If I write a letter to report to my superiors, saying that he has no regrets during the labor reform period, right, as he spoke, Wang Zhong made a gesture of raising his hand and gesturing for a pistol, with a loud bang in his mouth. Kill it. Zhou Rong's movements froze, her body trembled slightly, her eyes widened, her expression panicked, and she raised her fingers at Zhou Bingkuan, shouting loudly. How dare you? Wang Zhong was smirked and said, What dare I not do? You don't even want this family anymore, I have no other worries. You can find Kai Xiaoguang and ask him to help you go to Guizhou province. I won't stop you, and then you can just look at me and dare not. Wang Zhong magically took out a few letters from his pocket and said, Oh. By the way, I almost forgot. And these letters that Fanghua wrote to you will be handed in together when the time comes. Zhou Bingkuan, do you dare? Zhou Rong roared, and cursed, with scattered hair and a ferocious face. She was no longer as cute and lovely as before, but rather like a crazy woman. She jumped off the Kong and ran straight towards Wang Zhong, trying to snatch the letter from Wang Zhong's hand back. Wang Zhong couldn't let her succeed. He quickly ran out and entered the east room. Zhou Rong wanted to chase after her, but as soon as she remembered the angry look on Zhou Jigang's face earlier, she hesitated. When finishing the meal, Zhou Rongwa was in the room, unwilling to come out no matter how he called. Zhou Jigang had a dark face, and Zhou Bingyi's complexion was not very attractive. Wang Zhong ate happily, taking big bites without affecting his appetite. Li Suhua looked worried, but no matter how much she tried to persuade, Zhou Rong refused to eat. He also said, If you don't let me go to Guizhou province to find Huacheng, I won't eat. I'll just starve to death. Bastard. Zhou Jigang was so angry that he directly patted the table. If you're willing to be hungry, let her be hungry. I see how long she can resist it. Only Zhou Jigang himself knows how long this statement has been effective. Li Suhua had no choice but to come back for dinner. Zhou Bingyi's face turned ugly and he whispered, Dad. Why don't I go and persuade you? Don't go. No one is allowed to go, she likes to be hungry, so let her be hungry. Your mother and I have been spoiling her too much over the years, which has nurtured her current temperament. Although Zhou Jigang was biased, he never gave in when it came to matters involving the face of the Zhou family. In Li Suhua's words, Zhou Rong is planning to elope with someone. If this were to be known, wouldn't the face of the old Zhou family have been ruined? Zhou Jigang has always valued face the most, how could such a thing happen? Dad's right, we need to make her starve a few times. I heard Zhou Jigang raise his foot and kick again. Wang Chongke kept a watchful eye. As soon as Zhou Jigang moved, he noticed and even bounced off the Kong like a monkey. The speed of 13 o'clock is not a joke. With Wang Zhong's current speed, it's really not easy for ordinary people to hit him. Comrade Zhou Jigang, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Zhou Jigang glared at Wang Chong and bit the mantu in his hand. Get it? Who made you an old man? Wang Zhong rolled his eyes. Stinky kid, how can you talk to your dad? Li Suhua gave Wang Chong a dig. Hey. Mom, my father and elder brother are leaving tomorrow, and Zhou Rong's problem can be solved today. Wang Chong took mantu and shamelessly came back to hide beside the fire with Kanji. Otherwise, it's just the two of us, I'm afraid we won't be able to control her. As soon as Wang Zhong spoke, Zhou Bingyi paused as he ate and looked up at him with a complex expression. Zhou Rong was also called by you, that's your sister. My sister, my sister. Li Suhua ignored her youngest son and looked at the head of the family, Zhou Jigang, saying, his father, I think what Kuner said makes sense. This matter cannot be delayed. Zhou Jigang thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, tomorrow, I will leave with righteousness. I will stay for an extra day. If this matter is not resolved, even if I leave, I won't feel at ease. Zhou Bingyi sighed silently in his heart and looked at Zhou Jigang, Dad, you know Zhou Rong's temperament. What she has decided is that even 10 cows cannot be pulled back. Zhou Jigang threw his chopsticks and said, then I'll break her leg, saving her the embarrassment of our Zhou family. Being able to make Zhou Jigang say such words seems to have made him quite angry this time. As the saying goes, love is deep and responsibility is strong. How angry Zhou Jigang is now indicates how much he loves this daughter. What's the use of breaking her leg? If we talk about this, it's ultimately Comrade Zhou Jigang's fault. Wang Zhong will not miss such a good opportunity. If Comrade Zhou Jigang hadn't been accustomed to her for years, could he have developed her current temperament? As the old saying goes, getting used to a child is like killing a child. Bingkuan, what are you saying? Zhou Bingyi stared at Wang Zhong. To be honest. Wang Zhong said irritably, if this were to happen to me, I guess my legs would have been broken long ago, so I can only hum on the Kong and find it difficult to get down. How could she lie on the Kong like Zhou Rong, grieving for spring and autumn, pondering how to run to Guizhou province and elope with an old man? Among the 3 children of the Zhou family, only Zhou Bingkuan is constantly taken care of by Zhou Jigang, an old father, every day or 2. His original body has long been accustomed to it, but Wang Zhong does not have a habit of being beaten. Bastard! Zhou Jigang immediately exploded and grabbed the bowl before smashing it at Wang Zhong. Fortunately, Wang Zhong was already on guard and dodged as soon as he dodged. You dare to hide! Zhou Jigang got up and was about to chase after him. Li Suhua was quick-witted and quickly grabbed him, while Zhou Bingyi was not slow either. Mother and son, one on the left and one on the right, pulled Zhou Jigang. If you don't want to eat, go away. Don't obstruct me from here. Get it? I can't eat this meal anymore. Wang Chong walked to the kitchen and placed the bowls and chopsticks directly on the Kong. He shouted at the eastern room, since ancient times, loyalty has been harsh to the ear. I have already said everything I need to say. You are the head of the family. You should consider and handle it yourself. Wang Chong even had some doubts, whether his original body in Zhou Jigang had a different 8-character system. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. A New Look. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. A New Look. Zhou Jigang angrily slapped the table and glared at Wang Zhong, instinctively chasing after him to beat him up. But Wang Chonggang's words were like thorns piercing his heart. Upon careful consideration, why is Zhou Rong so bold and even able to say such harsh words as severing ties with her parents, just to go to Guizhou province to find that man in his 30s? And he is also an old right who is undergoing re-education through labor. Wang Zhong didn't want to obstruct Zhou Jigang's eyes at home, so that he wouldn't vent his anger towards Zhou Rong on himself and be implicated for nothing. I spoke to Li Suhua, got on my bike, and walked out the door. Li Suhua's eyes were filled with tears and she sighed, what's all this called? Zhou Jigang's old face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He rolled up a cigarette and lit it, sitting there swallowing clouds and mist. However, his eyes were complex and he remained silent. Zhou Bingyi, the filial son, didn't know how to persuade him. He turned his head and looked into the inner room, and the root cause of this matter ultimately lay with Zhou Rong. The Zhou family has 2 large houses with a courtyard of over 10 square meters, each of which has over 20 or 30 square meters. To the west, there was a gap, and upon entering, there was a kitchen and foyer. Inside, there was a room for 3 children. The room on the east side is the main house, which is also the room for Li Suhua and Zhou Jigang. It is also the living room for guests and the restaurant where the family eats. The large Kong next to the window in the east room is the place where everyone usually sits. Especially in winter, the function of this large Kong becomes even more apparent. The middle room in the west room was separated by curtains and a cabinet, simply dividing it into one large room and one small room. The small one belongs to Zhou Rong, and the big one belongs to the two brothers Zhou Bingyi. The entire old Zhou family, including the courtyard, occupies no more than 90 square meters. This is the only part of the entire Guangxi area, not to mention the neighbors around. A large family crowded into a room everywhere. Moreover, there is no toilet at home, so we can only use the public restroom outside. The public restroom is located diagonally opposite Zhou's house, just over 10 meters away. When the wind blows, the smell is simply unbearable. So the windows in the Zhou family courtyard are never open, and even the doors are always tightly closed. Zhou Jigang relied on his 8th-level craftsmanship to open 2 windows behind the house. As the night deepened, the tense atmosphere of the Zhou family also turned off the lights. In the pitch-black night, the old couple lay on the Kong, unable to sleep. "Dad, what should we do about Ronger?" Among the 3 children, Zhou Rong is the daughter that the elderly couple loves the most. They usually don't even say a harsh word. Zhou Rong also behaved very well behaved and clever in front of the old couple, always finding ways to make them happy. Zhou Jigang let out a sigh, feeling mixed emotions in his heart. On one side is his beloved daughter, on the other side is the face of the old Zhou family, and on the other is his daughter's future. How can Zhou Jigang not hesitate? Don't just sigh. Li Suhua propped up and pushed Zhou Jigang. "You old man, you're talking. What do you want me to say?" Zhou Jigang said angrily. "What's there to say? Don't you plan to take care of it?" Li Suhua's words left Zhou Jigang speechless. He remained silent for a while before speaking again. "What Bingkuan said today is not without reason. Anyway, we can't let her go to Guizhou province," Zhou Jigang said with determination in his tired tone. "Yes, we absolutely can't let Xiao Rong go to Guizhou province. That person named What Cheng is not a good person at first glance. If Xiao Rong had gone, wouldn't she have jumped into the pit of fire?" Although Li Suhua's ideas are still somewhat traditional, his love for his daughter has never been less. In the darkness, Zhou Jigang's voice didn't stop. "You heard what Bingkuan said to Xiaorong in the inner room today. What do you mean?" Li Suhua simply sat up. "With Ronger's attitude today, I really don't trust her to stay in the city. It's better to let her go to the countryside to become an educated youth. The pain is a bit bitter, but it's better than running to Guizhou province to find that old man who doesn't care about his age. If she insists on going to Guizhou province, then let's follow Bingkuan's advice and write a letter to report Fanghua." Zhou Jigang made this decision after careful consideration. With Zhou Rong's intelligence, if Bingkuan also went to the countryside, Li Suhua would not be able to cure her. Although Li Suhua couldn't bear to part with her daughter and was worried about her suffering, the thought of Fanghua made her feel uneasy. But on Xiaorong's side, Li Suhua was still worried. According to Zhou Rong's temperament, if Zhou Jigang really did this, she would have to sever ties with her family. Zhou Jigang also hesitated, completely devoid of the firmness he had just mentioned when reporting. Although reporting Fanghua is useful, it is a win-win solution. Wang Zhong can do it, but Zhou Jigang cannot imagine that his daughter, whom he loves the most, will hold a lifelong grudge against him for this matter. Zhou Jigang also sat up and thought for a while before whispering, "Kai Xiaoguang's father is a high-ranking official with a wide range of connections, and he is obedient to our Ronger. We must not let Ronger come to him for help. So, tomorrow you stay at home and watch Ronger, don't let her go out. I'll go to the street and find a village near Jichuan to take Ronger over. Hurry up and finalize this matter first. It's a nail on the head when the time comes. She just wants to ask Kai Xiaoguang for help, but it's useless. During this period, let alone going to Guizhou province, even if you just leave Jichuan, you still need a letter of introduction. Otherwise, if you can't go, you will have to be caught as a blind spot. To Li Suhua, the place in Guizhou province is like a pit of fire for her daughter. Compared to it, going to the countryside to become an educated youth may be a bit tiring, but I don't know how much better it would be. Okay. I'll listen to you. Li Suhua's attitude also became firm. It's getting late, hurry up and go to bed. The old couple had just laid down for a while when Zhou Jigang's voice suddenly rang out again in the darkness. Actually, I made this decision for another reason. Li Suhua was a bit uncertain. Are you saying? Cuner. Zhou Jigang let out a sigh and said, I usually don't pay attention to things, but I didn't expect to be able to handle big things clearly. At first, I was a bit worried. Both Bingy and I have left, and you can't take care of us at home alone. Now it seems that in the years when I'm not at home, Bingkuan has indeed grown up and matured. He knows how to care for his sister and has considered our family. Zhou Jigang couldn't imagine that his beloved daughter, carrying herself and his wife behind her back, left the whole family and ran alone to Guizhou province to elope with an elderly man in his 30s, who was also undergoing labor reform. Kuiner has indeed grown up, Li Suhua also thought deeply. In recent years, Lao Geddon has not been as mischievous as in previous years, often helping her with household chores. Alright, it's getting late, go to bed now. Zhou Jigang said. One day today, for the sake of Zhou Rong's incident, Li Suhua wiped countless tears and her eyes were almost swollen from crying. Li Suhua responded, you should also rest early. Don't keep holding your breath and hurting your body. Having been married for so many years, Li Suhua knows Zhou Jigang's temper very well. The next morning, Zhou Jigang went to the street early with his household registration book and found the director. He witnessed with his own eyes that the director had given Zhou Rong the task of going to the mountains and countryside. He filled out forms, introduction letters, and other materials, stamped them with his official seal, filed them, and reminded everyone that anyone who came to find him could not change this matter. He also gave 2 packages of the front door that Zhou Jigang himself couldn't bear to draw. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Zhou Rong goes to the countryside. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Zhou Rong goes to the countryside in the morning. Li Suhua and Wang Zhong went to the train station to see off Zhou Bingy, who was wearing a big red flower, on the train, and Zhou Rong followed suit. Upon returning home, Zhou Jigang and Li Suhua took turns watching Zhou Rong step by step, not allowing her to go out, and more importantly, not allowing her to come into contact with Kai Xiaoguang. After seeing off Zhou Bingy, Wang Zhong had nothing to do and helped Li Suhua tidy up the house for a while at home, sitting by the fireplace reading. I am reading a collection of short stories by Mr. Shuren. During dinner at night, Zhou Rong finally came out of the room with a calm face, not saying a word except for calling out to her parents twice. As for Wang Zhong, she was directly ignored. The next day, there was no news from the street. Zhou Jigang went again and received the news that the materials had been submitted, waiting for approval from the higher authorities. Zhou Jigang has been procrastinating for a day, and if he continues to procrastinate, he will be late. I bought a train the next day, explained to Li Suhua and Wang Zhong, and had a private conversation with Zhou Rong. The next morning, the family of 4 went to the train station together, with Wang Zhong and Zhou Jigang carrying large and small packages, and Zhou Rong supporting Li Suhua. Zhou Jigang got on the train and sat by the window, while Wang Zhong and the others stood on the platform. Bingkuan, you have grown up. You should pay more attention to family matters. Especially your sister. You keep an eye on her, don't let her do anything foolish. Zhou Jigang earnestly reminded. Wang nodded and looked at Zhou Jigang, saying, if she dares to run to Guizhou province, I will bring her back, break her leg and keep her at home. When it comes to going to the countryside and being injured, I will never embarrass our old Zhou family. Zhou Rong next to her instinctively trembled, and her neck felt a bit cold. Zhou Zhigang glared at him and said, "How dare you? I broke your leg." He had an angry expression on his face. Wang Zhong quickly softened and said, "You got it. Don't get angry, I'm just joking. Zhou Rong is my sister, how dare I touch her hair? Besides, Mom is still here. Please rest assured, Comrade Zhou Zhigang. I promise to take good care of Comrade Li Suhua and Comrade Zhou Rong." Zhou Zhigang gave Wang a heavy look. "You are slick. You can give me dim sum. Now you are the only man in the family. I am not with your brother, and you are the pillar of the family." "I know." Wang Zhong's face was calm and uncooperative. Zhou Zhigang looked at him like this and didn't get angry at all. Unfortunately, he's on the train now and can't even beat him up. As the train started and the people on the platform gradually faded away, Zhou Zhigang suddenly felt his suppressed mood improve and let out a bitter smile in silence. This stinky kid. As soon as Zhou Zhigang left, Li Suhua dared not even leave the door and constantly guarded Zhou Rong, afraid that she would secretly run to Guizhou province alone. Wang Zhong is quite leisurely now. When Zhou Zhigang was away, his bicycle became his and he rode it to the cinema whenever he saw the sky. Every day, he brought back 2 strings of tomatoes on sticks, one for Li Suhua and one for himself. As for Zhou Rong, Wang Chongkai was too lazy to speak to her. After a few days, Wang Zhong not only became familiar with Zheng's mother, but also wandered around the entire Jichuan city, gaining a general understanding. On the 3rd day after Zhou Zhigang left, Chuanyan's mother came knocking on the door again. There was news on the street, and Zhou Rong's business was settled. The place where she went to the countryside was in Xiahiashan village, not far from Jichuan. It was more than 20 miles away from Guangzipian, and there were buses back and forth every day. Li Suhua's heart, which had been hanging for a long time, was finally relieved. He took Zhou Rong to the street to retrieve the introduction letter and materials, and the time to go to the countryside was only 7 days later. The task was completed, and Li Suhua didn't have to constantly look at Zhou Rong. She followed her to say goodbye to her former teachers and classmates, which was Kai Xiaoguang's side. Wang Zhong went ahead and said hello. At first, Kai Xiaoguang was not willing, but as a senior admirer of Zhou Rong, he was so deeply in love with her that his mind burned. Wang Zhong was too lazy to talk nonsense to him, so he directly repeated what he had told Zhou Rong to him. This guy's face turned black on the spot. He also accused Wang Zhong of being vulgar and not understanding love. Wang Zhong straightened his waist and asked him confidently, "Kai Xiaoguang, do you really like my sister?" "I don't like Zhou Rong, it's love. I love her." Kai Xiaoguang opened his mouth, and Wang Zhong only knew that this kid must be mentally ill. "If you love her, why did you push her into the fire pit?" Wang Zhong asked with big eyes wide open. If Kai Xiaoguang were so easily convinced, it wouldn't be Kai Xiaoguang anymore. What is a fire pit? This is faith, it's love. Traveling thousands of miles, disregarding everything, overcoming all difficulties, rushing towards love, how great. Wang Chong wished he could slap his head in the ear and say, "You silly roe deer, don't you know what conditions are in the mountains of Guizhou province? Not to mention the poor mountains and rivers, but also the inconvenient transportation and harsh conditions. Fanghua, who went to labor reform, can make life easier. What kind of personality do you not know about Zhou Rong? She has been pampered and loved by my parents since childhood, and has never suffered hardship or been hungry or cold. You ask her to go find that old man Fanghua and suffer with him. This is what you say about loving her. Spiritual satisfaction is enough to offset all material deficiencies. If you have the ability, try not eating for 3 days. What are you? You're a talented young man who hasn't lived a hard day. How dare you say these things? Love someone. Love, you big-headed ghost. Lick your dog to death. Don't talk to me about what it's like to love her and make her happy. I'm not afraid to tell you that. This guy has really licked to the extreme. He's really great enough. At first, Wang Zhong planned to see if he could persuade Kai Xiaoguang, but now it seems that this guy has obvious problems with his values, which has made Wang Zhong very angry. Zhou Rong did indeed go to see Kai Xiaoguang, and Kai Xiaoguang almost came to see Zhou Rong every day. However, every time he came, Wang Zhong held hands and coldly looked at him, supervising the whole process from the side. They were not allowed to have any private actions, and even if they could not be driven away, Li Suhua silently acknowledged Wang Zhong's action. No matter how much Zhou Rong protested, Wang Zhong ignored him and continued to go his own way, causing Zhou Rong's opinion of him to grow stronger. Until the day she left, Zhou Rong didn't have a good word with Wang Zhong, and when she left, she didn't even have a good expression. On the other hand, Li Suhua was holding Zhou Rong's hand and couldn't bear to let go. Tears were streaming down her face, and she couldn't help but feel reluctant. Rong. Although the hardships in the countryside are a bit bitter, they are better than those in the mountainous areas of Guizhou province. Xiaohiashan village is not far either. Every month, I ask Bingkuan to visit you. I'll bring you some delicious food, Li Suhua choked up. Mom. Don't worry, I will take care of myself. Although Zhou Rong didn't treat Wang Zhong well because she couldn't go to Guizhou, she didn't hold any grudges against Li Suhua's mother. She just attributed all her hatred and disgust to Wang Zhong. Alright, comrade Li Suhua, Zhou Rong is such a big person and not a child. She will take care of herself, so please don't cry. You talk too much. Li Suhua wiped away tears and glared at Wang Chong. Zhou Rong released Li Suhua's hand and said, Mom, let me have a few words with Xiaoguang. Okay. Wang Zhong supported Li Suhua and watched Zhou Rong salute. Zhou Rong pulled Kai Xiaoguang to the side and whispered something in secret. Li Suhua stretched her neck, looking worried. Watching the little old lady's worried expression, Wang Zhong couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. The matter of Zhou Rong going to the countryside is already a matter of certainty. No matter how much faith Kai Xiaoguang has, nothing can be changed in this matter now. Don't worry. Besides, you can't say for sure that Kai Xiaoguang is as rare as Zhou Rong. He will become your son-in-law in the future. Of course, Wang Zhong's words were purely to comfort Li Suhua. Li Suhua gave Wang Chong a white glance and said, if they can really succeed, I really wish they could. Xiaoguang can also be considered as someone we grew up watching from a young age. She knows the root and bottom of the world, has a good personality, high knowledge, and good family conditions. If your sister becomes her, although it may be a bit out of place, she is much stronger than that old poet in his 30s. Comrade Li Suhua, you have to tell Zhou Rong about this. It's no use telling me, I can't marry Kai Xiaoguang. My mother's perspective is indeed much more reliable than Zhou Rong's. Besides, even if I'm willing to marry, Kai Xiaoguang wouldn't hesitate to take me. Li Suhua repeatedly gave Wang Zhong a hard beating with his white eyes and said, you stinky kid, you keep talking all day and running trains. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. I like you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. I like you. Time flies, and Wang Zhong's work street was quickly arranged, just like the original work, which was still divided into the Red Star Timber Factory, just like the vast majority of young and middle-aged people in Guangxi. Two young men, Sun Ganchao and Xiao Guoqing, have also come to find Wang Zhong in the past few days, and they have also been assigned to the Red Star Timber Factory. After lunch, the weather was much warmer, and Wang Zhong rode his bike out as usual. This time, instead of going to the cinema, he headed straight for Taiping Hutong. In front of the Zheng family's door, a little boy of 5 or 6 years old was grinding the bottom of a glass bottle with serious intent. Upon hearing the long-lost bicycle bell, the boy stopped his hand and lifted his head. Guangming. Are auntie and your sister at home? Brother Bingkuan is here, my sister has gone to the stall, and my mother is at home. Zheng Guangming's face smiled, even though his eyes couldn't see. At this moment, it seemed like there was really light coming. My sister packed everything up early in the morning and left it in the corner outside the house. Okay. Wang Zhong quickly parked his bike and pushed open the courtyard door of the Zhou family, walking in. It is said to be the gate of the courtyard, but in fact, it is only over 1 meter wide and 4 meters long, with a total of only 5 or 6 square meters of narrow alleyways. The other wall is the neighbor's house, although it is not large and there are many miscellaneous items placed, it is packed exceptionally neatly. The originally dilapidated courtyard wall was also briefly repaired by Wang Zhong, but now it is covered in heavy snow and frozen, so we can only start construction again after spring. Is it Bingkuan? Aunt Zheng's voice came from the room. It's me, Auntie. I have to trouble you. Footsteps could be heard inside the room, and soon Aunt Zheng came out. Saying, trouble is not troublesome, the chairman taught us to unite, be friendly, and help each other. Auntie, please don't stand out from me. There's breakfast left on the pot, eat some before making it. Aunt Zheng looked at Wang Zhong with a bright smile. Wang Zhong also smiled and said, I've eaten it, Auntie. It's cold outside. You'd better go inside and sit down. I'll tidy up the roof first before we talk. Slow down, be careful. Bingkuan, be careful. Guangming stood at the entrance of the courtyard, leaning against the crumbling wooden door and reminding him with concern. Wang Zhong put up the ladder and said with a smile, all right. As he spoke, he picked up his tools and stepped on the ladder to the roof, reminding Guangming not to come in yet to avoid being hit. He then began to tidy up the snow on the roof. Yesterday there was a heavy snowfall, and it hasn't stopped yet. A thick layer of snow has accumulated on the roof, sweeping down both the front and back of the house. Combined with inspection and repair, it has wasted almost an hour of Wang Zhong's effort. The snow in the courtyard was swept away by Zheng Wan and Guangming in the morning, but at the end of the day, combined with what Wang Zhong had brought down from the roof, a thick layer was piled up. Wang Zhong held a shovel and moved quickly. In no time, he cleared the snow in front and back of the house into a pile. He also impulsively built a snowman and found a tattered straw hat and 2 wooden strips from somewhere to put on the snowman. Zheng's mother hunched her body and beckoned Wang Zhong and Guangming into the room. Auntie, you're not feeling well, but don't go out for a breeze. Let's take care of yourself first. A few days after heavy snowfall, Zheng's mother braved the snow and went out to set up a stall. Her body and bones were not as strong as the young man's. She accidentally caught a cold. Today, Zheng Wan refused to let her go out, pushing the cart alone to set up a stall. Don't tighten it. Don't tighten it. Zheng's mother smiled and served 2 bowls of hot ginger tea. Come on, there's nothing good to entertain at home. Drink hot ginger tea tonight to warm up your body. Ginger soup is specially made by Aunt Zheng to ward off the cold. Thank you, madam. Wang Zhong didn't hesitate either. He took a puff and took a few sips. It wasn't too hot anymore, so he looked up and gulped down his entire body. It's Auntie who should thank you. Zheng Mu smiled and said, thanks to you these days, everyone inside and outside has been helping us a lot. Every man in the family has to do a lot of heavy work with her daughter. As she gets older, her strength is weak, and her body and bones are not very good. Most of these things can only fall on her daughter Zheng Wan's shoulders in the end. Don't be polite to me. Besides, this body is not a small matter. Now that you are the backbone of the family, you need to take good care of your body and bones. Don't let Wana and Guangming fall ill when they don't earn much money. How can you handle it? Ah. Auntie, listen to you. Zheng's mother became more and more satisfied with Wang Zhong, and her smile became even brighter. Although she is a bit young, she is down-to-earth, steady, and warm-hearted. If it were Wanner's mom. Bright. I'm back. Zheng Wan's voice came from outside. Guangming, your sister is back, go and welcome her. Zheng's mother had just finished speaking when Guangming, who was preparing to get off the Kong, was held down by Wang Zhong. Auntie, it's still snowing outside, let me go. As he turned over and got off the Kong, he put on his shoes and welcomed him out. How did you come back? Looking at the tall figure walking out of the door, Zheng Wan was stunned for a moment. Wang Zhong smiled and took the cart from Zheng Wan's hand, let me do it. There are fewer people in the cinema today. It's snowing outside, and everyone is eager to stay on the Kong and get off. Who's so eager to run to the cinema and get cold? Looking at the back of Wang Chong's cart, Zheng Wan's lips curved upwards, revealing an indescribable faint smile. Her willow-like curved eyes were very bright, as if seeing light. Wang Zhong was stunned at the sight. With a low eyebrow and a light smile, the flower played its shadow and its mouth held a fragrant fragrance, singing to the moon. What are you looking at? Zheng Wan's pretty face turned red when Wang Chong looked at her, and she spoke coquettishly. Wang Zhong grinned and said, you smile so beautifully, like flowers in spring. Zheng Wan lowered her head, afraid to look at Wang Chong. Her flushed cheeks were hot and quickly became scorching hot, even her neck was slightly feverish. Wang Chong pushed the cart into the yard. The rest of the tomatoes on sticks were taken out and handed to Zheng Wan. The cart was put under the shed in the corner to cover it, thank you so much. It's cold outside, hurry inside. Wang Zhong shook his head and said, no, it's getting late. I should go back too. I'll just talk to you and leave. 18-year-old Zheng Wan is already slim and graceful. She can hardly hide her beauty in an old patched gray cotton padded jacket. Holding tomatoes on sticks, she stands under the eaves and looks at Wang Chong like this. My job has been settled, it's the Red Star Timber Factory. I'll be going to work in 2 days, and I may not be able to come as frequently as I have in the past few days. If you have anything to do, just go to my house and find me. If I'm not at home and the situation is really urgent, it's okay to find my mom. Zheng Wan took a few steps forward and leaned closer. She looked up at Wang Zhong, who was more than half a head taller than her, and asked, why are you so kind to me? Wang Chong met Zheng Wan's gaze and said calmly, I like you. I've liked you since the first time I saw you. I like the way you smile. I want to be good to you. I want to see you smile all my life. Under Wang Chong's scorching gaze and undisguised words, Zheng Wan's heart had already melted. She stared blankly at Wang Chong for a while, and tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. She immediately lowered her head, her gaze flickering, becoming much dimmer. My conditions are so poor that I don't deserve you. You deserve better. In my eyes, you are the best girl in the world, Wang Zhong said firmly. After hesitating for a moment, he boldly walked forward and reached out to embrace Zheng Wan. His right hand gently caressed her head and leaned against his shoulder, saying, I don't have much to do, but I just want to be good to you. If you are willing, from now on, Guangming will be my younger brother and Auntie will be my mother. I dare not say that I will give you a life of great wealth and prosperity, but I will work hard and earn money. Let's build a home that belongs to us together. Tears flickered in Zheng Wan's eyes, as she met Wang Zhong's gaze. Just as she spoke, she was interrupted by Wang Zhong. Carefully holding Zheng Wan's smiling face and looking into her eyes, Wang Zhong said seriously, Wanner, if you hate me, I'll leave now. From now on, I'll never appear in front of you again to obstruct your eyes. But if you don't hate me and are willing to give me a chance, I will prove to you that I have the ability to support our family and will be good to you for the rest of my life. The tears in Zheng Wan's eyes could no longer stop, sliding down her fair and beautiful cheeks. Her clear and bright eyes were filled with emotion. She walked forward, tilted her head back, and lightly touched Wang Zhong's lips like a dragonfly. Wang Chang's mouth curved upwards, revealing a brilliant smile. He reached out again and embraced Zheng Wan, leaning his head against her head, sniffing the faint fragrance lingering in her black hair. He softly said, "In this lifetime, I have recognized you Zheng Wan, and I must marry your wife." "Who? Who wants to marry you?" Zheng Wan blushed with embarrassment and was hot all over, but her body leaned forward slightly, her toes tiptoed slightly, and her hands naturally passed through Wang Chang's ribs on both sides, wrapped around her waist. The north wind hunts, but at this moment, the young couple standing in the snow and wind, their two hot hearts tightly pressed together, emitting enough heat to dispel the bone-chilling coldness. "I really want time to freeze at this moment," Wang Zhong murmured in Zheng Wan's ear with some regret. The two of them slowly let go of each other's embrace, but their eyes remained fixed on each other. At this moment, their shyness faded away, leaving only two tightly intertwined hot hearts. Wang Zhong gently reached out and pulled a few strands of hair from Zheng Wan's forehead behind his ear. With a faint smile on his face, he softly said, "All right. I'm leaving, it's cold outside. You should hurry back to the house." Zheng Wan whispered and suddenly took the initiative to reach out and grab Wang Zhong's big hand that had been pulled back. "The road is slippery on a snowy day, ride slowly and be careful." Wang Chong held the soft barbarian in his hand and lightly patted the back of his hand, saying, "I'll ride slowly." After finishing speaking, he turned his head and shouted into the room, "Auntie, Guangming, I'll leave first and come to see you another day." Aunt Zheng and Guangming also came out to bid farewell. Wang Chong pushed the cart out of Zheng's house, then turned around and smiled as he rushed to Zheng Wan at the entrance of the courtyard, waved his hand, and rode away. Zheng Wan stood outside the courtyard, propped on her toes, stretched her neck, and looked at the back of Wang Zhong's departure. Her gaze was a bit dazed, unwilling to leave for a long time. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Showdown with Mom. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Showdown with Mom, Bingkuan brother. As soon as Wang Chong stopped his bicycle, a beautiful girl in a cotton-padded jacket and two fried dough twists braids rushed out of the room. Following the candies, he grabbed Wang Zhong's hand and didn't let go. "Chunyen. Why did you come?" "I just went to work, and the unit issued several bath tickets, so I wanted to send 2 to you and my godmother. Now Qiao Chunyen is still a little careless, like a boy. Li Suhua and his mother are sisters, and the two families are close together. When they went to school, they were in the same class, which can be said to be childhood sweethearts. Moreover, Qiao Chunyen seems to quite like her original body, at least for now. She is all set on becoming the daughter-in-law of the old Zhou family. You have a heart." Wang Zhong smiled and wanted to pull his hand back, but Qiao Chunyen hugged him tightly and didn't give him a chance. "Bingkuan, where have you been? Why did you only come back now? There's something going on outside, but it's you. Didn't you go to work? Why did you come back so early? Isn't it necessary to train for a few days before going to work?" Qiao Chunyen made no secret of her liking for Wang Zhong, with a pair of eyes as if she had grown on him. "If you don't do the right thing, you know you're going out and wandering around." Li Suhua, who was preparing dinner in the room, glanced at Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong grinned and said, "I'm going to work soon. Then I'll take advantage of these days to play around outside. Chunyen, are you okay? If you're okay, I'll go inside and read a book." Qiao Chunyen's bright big eyes purred and said, "Brother Bingkuan, what kind of book are you reading? Let me read it with you." "Then it's up to you." Li Suhua and Chunyen are his mother's sisters, and Qiao Chunyen is Li Suhua's daughter. The two families have been neighbors for decades, and they have always had a good relationship. Naturally, Wang Chong can't drive people out. However, The books left by Zhou Bingyi and Zhou Rong cannot be seen by Qiao Chunyan, who has no gatekeeper. Those books, along with the large wooden box, had already been collected by Wang Zhong into the 2 cubic meter space rewarded by the system. The space was in an absolutely prohibited state, so there was no need to worry about corrosion. Li Suhua watched as the two of them entered the inner room one by one, with a meaningful smile on her face. Sit anywhere. The room is very spacious, except for a heated Kong by the window. There is no shortage of desks, tables, chairs, wardrobes, and so on. There were not many books on the bookshelf, so Wang Zhong picked up a stack of newspapers that had just been delivered this morning and started reading them. People's Daily, Jiangliao Daily, Jichuan Daily. In this era, information dissemination is relatively lagging behind, and people's understanding of the outside world can only be achieved through newspapers, magazines, or radio and television. Sure enough, the poem he submitted did not appear above. Don't worry. It's only 3 days. Let the bullet fly for a while. Putting down the newspaper, I picked up a collection of short articles and started reading. Brother Bingkuan. Why did you suddenly think of reading? In middle school, even Xiao Chunyan's grades were not as good as before, and compared to her 2 excellent brothers and sisters, it was even more like. When it comes to reading books, it's Zhou Rong and Zhou Bingyi. Xiao Chunyan would never ask such a question, but Wang Zhong, being idle is also being idle. It's not easy to sleep in the dark, it's also good to read a book. There is nothing particularly new in the newspaper, but Wang Zhong still reads carefully. Reading newspapers is a good habit, and it is also one of the channels for Wang Zhong to interact with the world outside of Ji Chun. Wang Zhong has been cultivating this habit these days. Brother, I heard you've been assigned to a lumber factory. Along with National Day and catching up with them. Xiao Chunyan was not happy anymore, pouting and looking at Wang Zhong who was focused on reading. She complained, Brother, are you really listening to me? Listen. Wang Zhong didn't even lift his eyes. Xiao Chunyan was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but couldn't do anything about Wang Zhong. She left angrily with a sentence of, look at it yourself. As soon as I left, I heard her warmly greet Li Suhua, as if it wasn't her who was angry in the inner room just now. Godmother, it's getting late, I'm going back. Everyone has come, eat before leaving. No, my mom made my meal. You're talking about this child. How lively he is. Chunyan hurriedly left, and Li Suhua, holding a spatula, shook her head before returning to the stove to work. During dinner, the mother and son sat on the Kong in the outer room, with a dish of stir-fried cabbage, a dish of radish stewed meat with only a few pieces of meat, 2 steamed buns, and a small bowl of steamed buns. In recent days, Wang Zhong has started to consciously exercise his body, and with the improvement of his physique, his appetite has also increased significantly. Half a child, eat me down. Li Suhua is not surprised. She and Wang Chong are the only 2 in the family. There is no way to eat less meat, but this mantu can always satisfy the children. Mom, let me tell you something. A few days ago, the only 2 remaining buns of cabbage and pork were handed over to Wang Zhong by Li Suhua. What's up? Li Suhua gnawed on the steamed buns and ate cabbage. I have a crush on a girl. Puff. Li Suhua almost didn't spit out the steamed cabbage in her mouth, and then became happy with an excited smile on her face. What's your name? How old is it? Where do you live? Where do you work? My name is Zheng Wan, 1 year older than me. I live in Taiping Hutong and don't work. Taiping Hutong. Li Suhua's face froze with a smile, and her eyebrows furrowed as well. The Zhou family can also be considered as the top-ranked family in terms of light characters. Apart from anything else, these 2 large houses, the small courtyard outside, and the entire light characters, even with lanterns, cannot find a second home. But Taiping Hutong is a place that is not as good as Guangxi Pian. Most of the people living inside are black households, without even a household registration. What's the situation with that girl's family? Li Suhua patiently asked, but since Lao Gadi had taken a liking to her. There is an old mother and a blind brother at home. The girl is called Zheng Wan. Usually, Zheng Wan and her mother set up a stall to sell ice lollies and bingtenghulu to help with the family. No way. I disagree. Upon hearing this, Li Suhua immediately opposed it with a very firm attitude. Mom. Are you listening to me finish? I don't agree with you even if you say, go to hell. Li Suhua was so angry that he almost missed learning. Zhou Jigang threw his chopsticks onto the table. You said Chun Yen is not worthy of you. You need to have a good appearance, a good physique. Our two families have a deep understanding of the situation, good family conditions, work, and hardworking people. If you don't look for a girl as good as Chun Yen, go to Taiping Hutong to find her. Are you trying to make me angry? Li Suhua looked angry. Mom. Wang Zhongdao said, just Chun Yen's temperament, like a man, is not the type I like. What kind of thing are you looking for? Li Suhua widened her eyes and glared at Wang Zhong. Just like Zheng Wan. Gentle, beautiful, diligent, and virtuous, she can wholeheartedly help me take care of you and my family. I don't need anyone to take care of me. Yes, you're still young and don't need anyone to take care of you. But in the future, I'll have to have children. Not to mention too much, I can't be less than you and my father. You won't be able to see it by yourself. There must be a caring daughter.in.law to help you. That's quite reasonable. Li Suhua's words hit the nail on his head, but he immediately realized, stinky kid, you're digging a hole for your mother. Mom. It's not that I said. If you meet Zheng Wan, you'll love her more than I do. Besides, my father is a worker, and my brother also earns a salary in the Corps. He will also be a cadre when he is discharged from the military in the future. Although Zhou Rong is not reliable, he is also a high school student, and I will soon become a worker. With our family's conditions, it doesn't matter what kind of bride we look for, whether we lack food or clothing. The key is to be kind, hardworking, and filial to you. Besides, girls from other places don't even look up to your son except for the Guangzi Pian. The catchphrase, good men don't marry pornographic films, and, good women don't marry pornographic films, has been popular for many years. You're talking like a flower. Li Suhua couldn't help but give Wang Chong a pale look. How dare you say, your sister? You both have the same moral character. Mom, my sister and I are two different things. Li Suhua's face lit up as soon as Wang Chong mentioned Zheng Wan, and her heart softened. One day, if there's a chance, bring that girl back to me and show her, she said. Oh, that's it. Wang Zhong immediately picked out the largest piece of meat and sent it to Li Suhua's bowl. I've agreed for now, just take a look. I can't handle this alone, I have to ask your father before I can do it. Line by line. Now that you are the head of the family, you have the final say. Wang Chong grinned and looked like a dog leg. Stinky kid. The wings are hard. Li Suhua was also amused. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Dischargers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Dischargers, Ding Lingling. Zhou Bingkuan, I have your letter. Early in the morning, the postman's bicycle passed through the Zhou family as usual, and he stuffed the bulging envelope into Wang Zhong's hand. The signature is from Jiangliao Publishing House. Wang Zhong's face showed a smile, and upon opening it, it was indeed a reply letter and a payment receipt. The content of the reply was not much. First, it expressed recognition for Wang Zhong, and then it was a request for manuscript. On the contrary, the manuscript fee gave Wang Zhong a considerable surprise, which was a total of 52 yuan. Sure enough, in this era, only literati could stand and earn money. After breakfast and reading for 2 hours, Zheng started exercising in the room, doing push-ups, sit-ups, plank supports, and some simple sanda techniques. For the past half-month, Zheng has been doing this. With the improvement of various basic attributes and a series of exercises he has been persistently practicing every day for the past half-month, Zheng can clearly feel the improvement of his physical fitness. The other basic attributes have not changed much, but the strength item successfully rose to 10 yesterday morning, reaching the peak value of an ordinary adult man. Beyond the average person's physique, Zheng's breath is more prolonged, and his endurance and physical strength are also more enduring. After lunch, Zheng went out of the house and went to Fa Xiaosuan's house. "What can I do for you in this cold weather?" Sun Ganqiao was also dressed in an old patched cotton jacket, wearing a hat, his hands tucked in his sleeves, and not wearing a scarf. In the piercing cold wind, he could only straighten his collar and try to tighten his neck. "Do you know where I can get food and meat coupons?" Zheng himself has no way out, so he can only find these few good relationships to start a small business. Originally, Tu Jiqiang was the best candidate, but unfortunately, this guy is still undergoing re-education through labor. Grain coupons are easy to say, but meat coupons are not common anymore. Sun Ganqiao was not surprised. Nowadays, it is common to exchange fine grain coupons for coarse grain coupons, especially for plain grain coupons. Isn't it that Zhou Rong has gone to the countryside? Life in the countryside is tough, and my mother thinks about making more meat every month in the future, asking me to send it to Zhou Rong, but there isn't enough meat tickets at home. In recent years, food and meat tickets are distributed according to the number of people, with a fixed quantity and not much quantity. Most families occasionally do not have enough meat to cook at home, so they are willing to exchange it for even less. Unless those families are particularly suffering and have a large population, they will only exchange meat tickets for food if they are unable to eat enough. Coincidentally, let's also call National Day and have a look at the pigeon market together. These days, pigeon market has been repeatedly banned. After all, the demand is there. On the National Day side, go shout and make an appointment at your home. "I'll come find you tonight." In the evening, after having dinner and talking to Li Suhua, Zheng put on a thick military coat, put on a hat, scarf, and gloves, and walked out tightly. At Sun Ganqiao's house, they met up with the two of them. The three of them didn't ride bicycles and just walked on their legs. Sun Ganqiao and Xiao Guoqing are familiar with each other and can tell at a glance that they have come frequently. With their two old drivers leading the way, Zheng quickly and smoothly obtained the meat and grain tickets he wanted. He also met a seller of wild boar meat, who came from somewhere unknown. Zheng weighed 10 pounds and brought a plump wild rabbit, spending a total of 5 yuan. Seeing this made Xiao Guoqing and Sun Ganqiao both envious and heartbroken. Although wild boar and rabbit meat are good, they are both lean meat with little fat and fewer buyers. Nowadays, people prefer fatty meat rich in oil, and the fatter the meat, the more popular it is. "Bingkuan, is your family only a few days away?" Zheng smiled and took out his daytime words. Sun Ganqiao shook his head but didn't say anything more. The next day is the day when Zheng and Xiao Guoqing go to work. Early in the morning, Zheng pushed the cart out of the door under Li Suhua's advice, and after meeting with two young men, he rode his bicycle towards the Red Star Timber Factory. Out of the light, on the main road, 3 people rode bicycles side by side. Sun Ganqiao suddenly said, "Bingkuan, I've heard about it. It's only been a few days since we last saw each other. It's like a different person. You've been sitting at home all day reading books and newspapers." I said, "Why haven't you been looking for me to play with National Day these days? Half a young man, it's time to jump off, where can he sit still, and he's not the kind of person who likes to read." Others don't know, a few young men will definitely understand. "Where did you hear about it?" Zheng asked back. Xiao Guoqing next to him smiled and said, "Then there's no need to ask, of course it's what Chen Yenner said." Sun Gongqiao has always liked Xiao Chunyan, and it's not a secret. Unfortunately, Xiao Chunyan is only interested in her true self and has no interest in her. Don't digress from the topic. I asked first. If there were outsiders around, I would have been in a hurry to catch up, but this matter was not a secret in front of Wang Zhong and Xiao Guoqing. Wang Zhongdao said, "My brother said I read too little and asked me to read more. I think it makes sense. My dad and brother have both left, and my sister has also gone to the countryside to cut in line. Now that I am the only man in the family, I definitely can't go wild all day like before." "Sure, Bingkuan, how did you say that? Why do you look at me?" Xiao Guoqing couldn't remember what he said after thinking about it. "That was a 3-day farewell, which impressed me greatly," Sun Gongqiao quickly added. "These two guys are half a pound." Wang Zhong smiled and said, "The original saying is, after 3 days of farewell, we should look forward to each other. When you have free time, you two should read more books and newspapers, and don't wander around aimlessly." Wang Zhong honked the bell and rode forward with force. "Hey! This kid has really changed his personality." The two of them exchanged a glance and coincidentally accelerated their speed to catch up. Talking and laughing all the way, it took more than 10 minutes to arrive at the Red Star Timber Factory located on the other side of Jichuan. With the introduction letter in hand, the three of them smoothly entered the factory and met with the head of the Human Resources Department and the factory director. They then became honorable workers, and all three were arranged as discharge workers responsible for moving wood. They were arranged in one class, with Sun Gongqiao and Xiao Guoqing working together, and Wang Zhong and a stranger working together. The salary of the three is based on apprenticeship, which is 18 yuan per month. In the morning, I was taken around the factory to learn about various areas of the wood factory. At noon, I had lunch in the cafeteria, and in the afternoon, the three of us officially started working. Boy, in just one afternoon, the three of them were exhausted enough. On the way back, he kept complaining incessantly. When they arrived home and parked their bicycles, Li Suhua, who heard the sound, opened the door and welcomed them out. "The hot water has been poured. Come in quickly and wash it first." Just a simple scrub, Li Suhua brought all the dishes to the table, including cabbage, pork stewed vermicelli, and freshly steamed rice with all the meat and vegetables. The mother and son sat on the con, and Wang Zhong was really hungry. "Then pick up the dishes and pull them into your mouth." Watching Wang Zhong wolf down, Li Suhua's face showed a kind smile and said, "Eat slowly. No one is competing with you. How do you feel on your first day at work today?" Wang Zhong was still chewing on the food and said, "It's okay, but the food in the cafeteria isn't as delicious as Mom's." "If it's delicious, eat more," Li Suhua said with a smile on her face. "By the way, what kind of work is arranged for you in the factory?" Li Suhua didn't take a few bites of food, and his thoughts were all on his own old man. The discharge workers, catching up with and celebrating the National Day are the same. Ah! The discharge worker. Li Suhua's smile disappeared upon hearing these words, and she looked at Wang Zhong with a heart-wrenching expression. Wang Zhong smiled and said, "What's wrong with this? Your son still has a lot of strength, and he's still so young. He's a bit tired, but he can also exercise people. Whatever you say, you have reason." Li Suhua's smile reappeared as he watched Wang Zhongla happily eat with an oily mouth, without any complaints. "Mom, what I'm doing now is heavy physical labor. In the future, I'll make more meat every month." Wang Zhong then climbed up the ladder. "Eating meat is the key to gaining strength and making work easier. Maybe I can still move up higher like this." At the age of 17, still in the golden age of development, if the nutrition can keep up, it is not impossible for the head to soar upwards. The family's conditions are good. Father Zhou Jigang sends back most of his monthly salary. Zhou Jigang is an 8th-level worker, and his monthly salary is not small or old. There are also various subsidies, but various receipts are distributed according to the number of people, which is reasonable. Therefore, if you want to eat more meat, you can only go to Pigeon Market to exchange meat tickets. Okay, anyway, it's just the two of us at home now. Although Li Suhua is used to frugality, her several children are her flesh and blood. Li Suhua couldn't bear to see them suffer, and now this old lump is growing, and the family's conditions are not bad, so she can't save what she needs to eat. New book release, experts seeking recommendations. Please support me. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Zheng's mother talks about women. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Zheng's mother talks about women. Taiping Hutong and the wood factory were completely in two directions. Riding a bike, they left Guangzipian. As they approached Taiping Hutong, Wang Chong searched for an empty alley and took out the wild rabbits and the remaining 5 pounds of wild boar meat, as well as the food and meat coupons he had prepared yesterday. After thinking about it for a while, Wang Zhong took back the meat and half of the grain tickets. There were too many gifts given at once, and he was afraid that it would backfire. Anyway, it wasn't far away. Sending them back every 10.5 days and a month would allow him to see Zheng Wan more. After counting more than 10 grain vouchers and putting them in his pocket, Wang Zhong rode his bike towards Zheng Wan's house. Wang Chong knocked on the door, and Zheng's mother's voice came from inside. Who is it? Auntie, it's me, Zhou Bingkuan. It's Bingkuan. Here it is. Zheng's mother's voice carried a hint of surprise, her voice even higher than before. After a while, Zheng Wan, wearing a grey cotton padded jacket and 2 fried dough twists braids, opened the door. Zheng Wan stood at the door, looking at Wang Zhong, who was carrying a hanging of meat, and said, "Why did you come?" "Let me see my future daughter. Law." Zheng Wan's pretty face turned red as she spoke, and an inexperienced little girl couldn't compare to Wang Chong, whose face was thicker than the city walls. Wang Zhongro and the rabbit. Zheng Wan felt a bit confused and said, "Why are you still carrying so many things?" "This is nothing else, it's meat." At first glance, the rabbit weighs at least 4 or 5 pounds, and the hanging meat is also about the same. Wang Zhong didn't enter the room and handed the meat and wild rabbit to Zheng Wan, saying, "This is a Chinese New Year. Others have stewed meat in their pots, but your family hasn't even seen a meat star. The light is still small, and you need to grow a body. The old lady's body is weak, so you need to eat more meat to supplement it. But that's too much." Although the two of them had established a relationship, Zheng Wan didn't want to take advantage of the Zhou family. "What's more? And you yourself, you also need to eat more. In the future, you will be giving us the Zhou family branches and leaves, giving birth to children. Your body and bones cannot be weak anymore. You need to eat more meat and eggs to supplement nutrition." As she spoke, Zheng Wan blushed and lowered her head, afraid to look at Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong handed the meat and rabbit to Zheng Wan, and he didn't forget to instruct, "Let's pack up the rabbit first. Although it's not afraid to let it go in cold weather, it may not be easy to handle if it's left for too long." Seeing Zheng Wan blushing with reluctance, Wang Zhong smiled and leaned in to explain softly. "All right, you can keep your heart at ease. This is not something I bought with my family's money, it's the money I earned by writing my own articles. No, this is too much, I can't take it." Zheng Waner is a sensible person who doesn't want Wang Zhong to spend money recklessly. Wang Zhong grinned and looked down at her. Suddenly, taking advantage of her unpreparedness, he leaned down on her pretty and fair face and took a bite. "This is your gift." Zheng Wan became more and more shy, but she was not at all angry. Instead, she felt secretly happy in her heart. However, when she saw Wang Zhong's despicable expression that seemed to be a smile but not a smile, she immediately went into chaos. After a while, he looked up and dodged the topic, saying, "You just said. Write a draft. What draft did you write?" I casually wrote a poem and submitted it to the Jiangliao Daily. Unexpectedly, I was lucky enough to be selected for the first time. You're really amazing. Not only can you write poetry, but you can also go to the newspaper. Zheng Wan's eyes were filled with admiration, and her heart had already fallen. By the way, there's one more thing I need to say to you first. What's going on? I told my mom about you, and she wants to see you first. You see, when you have time, I'll come and pick you up. Ah. Zheng Wan was momentarily stunned by Wang Zhong's words. Her pretty face quickly turned crimson, and her heart was once again in turmoil. She didn't know where to put her hands and feet, and even spoke stumblingly, "Your mother wants to see me." Seeing Zheng Wan's appearance, Wang Zhong suddenly felt reluctant to open his eyes. Ugly daughter.in.law always wants to see her in-laws. Besides, my partner is so beautiful, hardworking and capable, kind and filial. My mother doesn't even have time to like her. Zheng Wan only felt her mind dizzy and blank. Wang Zhong took out the prepared food vouchers from his pocket and without hesitation stuffed them into the pocket of her cotton jacket. Alright, it's getting late too. These are some food and meat tickets I bought yesterday. You keep them. During the conversation, the person had already pushed the bicycle out of the door, sat on it, and walked away with a strong glare. I didn't forget to wave at Zheng Wan and said, "It's cold outside, hurry inside." Zheng Wan stood dumbfounded at the entrance, watching Wang Zhong's figure disappear on the street corner, holding wild rabbits and boar meat in her hand. There was no movement for a long time, and her heart was warm, as if eating honey. Looking at Wang Zhong's back, she felt as if her heart had also flown away. "Wana, what are you doing outside? Let Bingkuan sit inside." Zheng's mother opened the door and walked out. Seeing Zheng Wan carrying meat and rabbits, she was pleasantly surprised and didn't believe it. She rubbed her eyes and asked, "Are these all sent by Bingkuan?" Zheng Wan nodded. Zheng's mother looked regretful and said, "My silly daughter, Bingkuan came specifically and brought so many things. Why don't you invite him into the house to sit down? It's so late, he still has to work tomorrow." Right. Bingkuan has already entered the wood factory to work. Zheng's mother suddenly realized. Alright, it's so cold outside. Don't stand here anymore. Hurry inside and don't freeze. Mom, these are all from him. You keep them safe. Zheng Wan took out the dozen or so grain tickets that Wang Chonggang had just given from her pocket and handed them to Zheng's mother. So much. Zheng's mother looked at the thick stack and was startled. Fortunately, upon closer inspection, Zheng's mother found that the face value of the tickets was basically 1 and 2 pounds, and there were also 2 tickets weighing 5 pounds, totaling more than 30 pounds. If she bought them, she would have to pay a lot of money anyway. "Waner, it seems that Bingkuan is really interested in you." Zheng's mother sighed as she held the grain receipt in her hand and saw the hanging meat and wild rabbit. Zheng Wan shyly lowered her head, her delicate and beautiful face turning red once again. The conditions of the old Zhou family are also among the best in the entire Guangxi family. If you can really marry them, Mom will rest assured. Zheng Yiji said with a long focus. Mom. Zheng Wan was so shy that she wished she could find a crack in the ground and crawl in. After all, she was just a little girl, uninformed, with a thin skin. Mom has no other demands in this life, just thinking that you and Guangming are both good. Bingkuan is a good person who doesn't dislike our family and treats Guangming well. Mom doesn't object to your relationship with him, and you don't have any psychological burden. Seeing Zheng Wan's expression of confusion, Zheng's mother was unaware of Zheng Wan's concerns. But it's because he's too kind, Zheng Wan's heart was extremely complicated. Zheng's mother took Zheng Wan's hand and said softly, "My silly girl, there are so many beautiful girls in the world today. Why does Bingkuan like you? It's definitely not just because you look good. My mother estimates that he likes your diligence, kindness, and filial piety. Mom. No one praises their daughter like you do. Zheng felt embarrassed when Zheng's mother said it. Zheng's mother proudly said, my daughter must be the best girl in the world. You can meet him, he can see you, and you also like him, that's fate between you. It's arranged by the Buddha. Zheng's mother said again, Wanner. Our women's goal in this life is to marry a good man. Bingkuan is not a promiscuous person. He has a clear mind, is kind and enthusiastic, and is a good destination. Mom can tell that he likes you from the bottom of his heart and is willing to treat you well. In our women's family, we always have to get married. Why can't we marry Bingkuan instead of marrying other people who don't know their roots? Guangming also interjected, sister. I also think Bingkuan is a good person. If he could be my brother-in-law, I would definitely be too happy to sleep. Although Guangming is young, he is exceptionally sensible and matures earlier than the children around him. Zheng emotions were somewhat complicated. Wang Zhong's intentions had long been fully revealed to her, and she genuinely liked Wang Zhong. However, it was precisely because of this that Zheng had concerns. New book release, experts seeking recommendations. Please support me. End of this chapter.